Assalamu alaikum ji, Dr. Huma Saif here. Welcome to the show FunPlatter, a show that's all about the experiences, the interesting aspects, the adventures of my guests. आज हमारे साथ है सलमान रशीद साहब माशाल्लाह. He's acclaimed as the most erudite travel writer of the country माशाल्लाह. इन्होंने K2, Deosai, Sindh माशाल्लाह बहुत से एरिया बहुत खूबसूरत एक्सप्लोर किए हैं और इनका स्पेशल पैशन है रेलरोड ट्रैक्स. तो अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर to the show.
Walaikum salam. Thank you very much, Huma.
It's so amazing to have you on show, sir.
That's very kind of you.
My pleasure. So, sir, थोड़ा सा आप अपनी जर्नी के बारे में बताइए. आप माशाल्लाह पहले आर्मी में थे, then you, I believe, switched to PIA, and then mashallah, you travel writing. So, how was the journey?
I was in the army, I think, trying to escape from my family because my father wanted me to be a civil engineer or an engineer like him. He was a civil engineer. I don't have a head for mathematics, and I could never have made it. I flunked in the 12th grade, and I just had to get away. So the army was the only escape, and that also happened entirely by chance. I met a friend outside the Air Force recruiting office, and he said, "Why don't you come and do an interview as well?" So we both went in. He flunked, I passed.
That's awesome. That's lucky stroke.
Yeah, but I was eventually rejected because they said there was something wrong with my eyes, which made me unfit for flying, and I transferred to the army. And I think I was a square peg in a round hole because it was a very colorful career. I think I had the habit of spitting in everyone's eye. And
I read your story about Major Sharif Saab. So that was
yes.
interesting.
Oh, yes. Yeah, Major Sharif, that was at the end of my career, 6.5 years career. Yeah, we'll come to that later if you want.
Perfect, sir.
First I got an adverse report in the first year of my service. No, second year of my service. Then everyone got promoted captain. I did not, for various reasons. And then when I finally got promoted captain 1 year later than everyone else, I was demoted right back to lieutenant within a few months. And then I remained captain for the rest of my life in the army until I met Major Sharif. And then I got an adverse report. So it wasn't a very great career. After I quit, I joined a multinational firm, Siemens, the German firm. And again, I think I was a square peg in a round hole, or a round peg in a square hole this time. But it wasn't what I wanted to do with my life. And I really had no idea what I wanted to do with my life until I was traveling a great deal already. Even in my army time, I used to go wandering around. Most of my army life was in Karachi, and I used to go walking in the Pubby Hills, or would go to Tilla Jogia or Rohtas or places. But I was like any typical army officer. I was completely unread. I didn't know anything about anything at all. So it was only after I got to Karachi that there was more time on my hands. I started reading, and my traveling became, I think the traveling experience became more profound.
That's super awesome. And I was going through the list of your books. आपने माशाल्लाह गुजरांवाला के ऊपर book लिखी हुई है. That's my hometown.
Oh, really? So is Shabnam. Shabnam is from Gujranwala.
Super awesome. That's super awesome. So sir, वो K2 के बारे में भी बताइए कुछ, because I've heard it's a very unkind mountain, or like it's like a killer mountain. So how was that exploration?
No, I'm not a mountaineer. I'm a mountain walker. The highest I have ever been in my life is 19,000 feet, about 5,800 meters above
Ah,
sea level.
ah,
And this was on glaciers, but I've never climbed a real mountain. I've climbed a few peaks,
okay. Ah,
small peaks, but never this. The K2 experience for me was unique because you see, I was exploring an old abandoned route. The
uh-huh.
people of Baltistan used to travel between Shigar Valley and Yarkand in what is now Xinjiang province of China
Mhm.
over a glaciated pass. And this route has now been abandoned for 150 years. Yes, about
Okay.
150 years.
Uh-huh.
I went exploring this route in 2006, and because the Chinese would not permit us to cross from where the Baltis used to cross, I had to backtrack from a certain point on my journey and then go around over the Khanjarab Pass to China
Oh,
and walk in from the Yarkand side. So I became the only Pakistani to have seen the north
wow.
face of K2. That was the unique thing, and people made a big thing out of it. I think I also made a big thing out of it.
Naini, that is amazing, sir. I mean, being the only Pakistani, just a Yarkand dekha, oh, that's huge.
Yarkand, someone other else might have been to, but not. They could not have walked to the base camp of K2 to look up to this magnificent mountain from the north side. I
Uh-huh.
am the only Pakistani so far.
That's super awesome. तो सर मैं आपके बुक्स देख रही थी तो आपका एक पैशन है colonial railways के साथ तो उसका there is any underlying reason for that?
My father was a railway engineer.
Okay, okay. So you didn't get to be an engineer, but railway passion was there.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Um, and although my father resigned from Northwestern Railway, which was in Pakistan in 1952, the year I was born, and I
Uh-huh.
always say my birth was such a great shock to my father that he resigned from the service. Uh, and he set up his own civil engineering practice after that.
Okay.
But for the first years of his professional life, he worked as a railway engineer, and there was something of the railway in him because in his latter years, he was very sentimental about the railways.
Aw.
So, and we lived in Lahore. My father's old colleagues and friends lived in Mayo Gardens. We lived in Durand Road. We were very close
Okay.
between. Yeah, and my brother and I would cycle to Mayo Gardens to do things, and a lot of my father's railway colleagues were always visiting, especially on Sundays.
Uh-huh.
So, and there was talk of the railway,
You stay
and
connected to that.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
तो सर आपकी तो हाँ जी आपकी फैमिली ने जलंधर से फ्ली किया था उसके भी मैं आपके देखी थी टाइम्स ऑफ मैडनेस हाउ वाज दैट जर्नी आई मीन वो क्योंकि मेरे बच्चे भी अक्सर कहते हैं कि हाँ डैड नीड्स टू सिट एंड टेल अबाउट हिज जर्नी और वो सब कुछ जो स्ट्रगल उन्होंने की तो उस तरह आपके वालिद साहब भी बताते होंगे
You see, my dad was the divisional engineer, Northwestern Railways in Delhi.
ओके
अब उस वक्त पार्टीशन के वक्त
हम्म
अब्बू ने ऑप्ट किया पाकिस्तान के लिए. अब ये जुलाई की बात है. Abu, Ammi, and my two sisters. The eldest died later on in Multan, and we are now four siblings, two sisters and two brothers. And my parents were put on a train and sent to Karachi. My father was posted to the Northwestern Railways at Karachi as the divisional engineer. My grandfather thought that, okay, so they're creating Pakistan and there'll be a border, but what?
what difference would
We'll
that
carry
make
on living like it has always been,
yeah
and we'll travel there. And when people from the other side want to come visiting, they can always come. That was the impression.
Yeah.
So that's what cost my grandparents and my aunts and my great grandfather their lives in Jalandhar.
Okay, I'm so sorry to hear that,
They
sir.
were 12 people died
Oh my gosh.
in there.
Okay, I'm so sorry for that, sir. तो सर आपका में जैसे Deosai, Jhelum, तो I've heard Deosai is a very beautiful place. To be honest, I've never been there. Like in my friends, couple of my friends been there, or they like talk very highly of that place. So how was that experience?
Deosai,
Yeah, yes, sir.
Deosai, yes, yes. Deosai
Mm-hmm.
is a magical place. You see, that the word, the real word, as the Gujars pronounce it, and the Gujars spend their summers there
Uh-huh.
and their winters in the plains of Punjab. They walk up and down twice a year. The Gujars call it Devasai.
Okay. Okay,
Dev,
my bad. Uh-huh.
वो जमीन जो देव ने बसाई, and there is a
Wow.
story behind it. Uh,
Uh-huh.
and you see, so from Devasai it became Deosai
Okay.
from
So what
common
is the
use. So
story behind that, sir?
the story is the Gujars say, this is a huge grassland
Okay.
with plenty of water, rivers flowing through it, but nothing grows there because it's more than 4,000 meters above sea level. So
Oh.
when the first Gujars would have come there, let's say a couple of thousand years ago, they
Mhm.
would have thought, why can't things grow here? There's not a single tree here. There's only some bushes and grass. So they created the story of this giant, a Dev,
Uh-huh.
who came to Deosai and he saw this vast grassland and he said, fine, I'll grow my paddy here. I'm going to be a rich rice farmer. And
Uh-huh.
he plowed up the field, the land, and he sowed his rice. And then he sat around waiting for the crop to ripen. A fox comes along and says to the giant, what are you doing here, you stupid giant? People are feasting on such luscious apricots in sugar and skardu, and you're waiting here for this rice to ripen. It's never going to
That
ripen.
happened. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And in August, the blizzards begin. Long before the rice could ripen, the blizzards came, and the giant left in disgust. He lost his entire crop, he left in disgust. And so the Gujars say this is Dev Vasai, the
Oh,
land that the giant settled or at least tried to settle.
that's very interesting, sir. फिर उसके अलावा आपने जैसे बहुत से एरियाज देखे हैं तो what did you used to do? Backpacking, hitchhiking, or you used to drive on your own, or bus or train?
I've done everything except donkey cart. Yes.
So you missed on
I,
that, sir. I guess we need to do that.
yes,
That would be
that's
fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've taken trains. I've driven my old banger all over Sindh, and I've ridden these pickup trucks with everyone else,
Uh,
buses in which the goats and the women ride inside and the men ride on top.
on top.
Um,
So
and
hitchhiking or like the regular bus, like you pay the fare kind?
no, you pay a fare.
Okay.
The conductor tells you to get up on the top. And women, chickens, goats, and children, they're all inside. So
Okay.
I've ridden those kind of buses. I think they've gone out of fashion now. There are more buses now and fewer people traveling with goats and chickens.
Oh, we're missing on that then.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
so is it backpacking bhi aapne ki? How was, I mean, do you do
Back,
backpacking any area in Pakistan?
I've actually been nearly all over. I've even, I think, in those days when I was doing it, there was no one backpacking in Balochistan and Sindh in the
Okay.
mountains.
Uh,
I was doing that in the early 1980s. And then I've been in Chitral, in Baltistan, in Gilgit, Hunza, all over. I've done little treks, I've done long treks. I've walked in Chitral And the best thing was walking in Balochistan and Sindh because no one had ever been there. And you know, people had never seen a backpacker.
Okay, especially 1980s, ये तो बिल्कुल एक फॉरेन आइडिया होएगा तब।
Yes.
जी, तो कौन से एरिया के सर आपको लोग बहुत ज्यादा हॉस्पिटेबल लगे, कहाँ सबसे अच्छा लगा, वेलकम, वार्मथ? मतलब आपने तो माशाल्लाह बलूचिस्तान, सिंध, एवरीवेयर प्रीटी मच देखा है।
ये देखिए, ये पूरे पाकिस्तान में मैं कह ही नहीं सकता कि जी फलां जगह के लोग जो थे ना वो हॉस्पिटेबल नहीं थे।
ओके,
तो वो हाँ, मतलब मेरा शुरू का तो ऐसा था, और वो पंजाब में भी मैंने किया, बलूचिस्तान में किया, सिंध में किया, कि जब मैं पैदल फिरा करता था, पैसे वैसे नहीं थे, तो किसी बस से उतरे तो पैदल चल पड़े, कहीं रात पड़ी तो दरवाजा खटखटा के मैं कहता था कि ये रात रहना है। तो वो कहते सी कि अच्छा आ जाओ फिर, तो वो अंदर ले जाते थे, रोटी शोटी भी आ जाती थी।
अब तो इतनी खौफनाक स्टोरियां सुनते हैं, अब तो किसी दरवाजे पे नॉक करते डर लगता होगा।
हाँ, अब तो खैर पता नहीं, अब तो शायद रखे भी ना, कि पता नहीं बम ही ना हो इसके पास।
सही कह रहे हैं।
तो वो इस तरह से बलोचों के साथ, उनको बेचारों को जुबान भी नहीं आती थी, पर वो भी धड़ाधड़ उसमें मेहमानदारी में लग जाते थे। कई इतने रिमोट बलोच मैं उनके पास भी रहा हूँ, और कोई घर भी नहीं है, झुग्गियां थी सिर्फ।
I mean, you don't need to be rich. It's the richness of the heart. अगर आप दिल से अमीर हो तो मैं कह रही हूँ, you don't need to have money to be rich. It's the heart that matters.
Exactly. So, and they were always very kind. Everyone was. I mean, I've never slept hungry. In fact, in Chitral many years ago, and you know, I used to backpack alone, except one time on the Hub River in Baloch, the river that flows between Balochistan and Sindh. I was, because it was a very unknown area, I went with another friend. That was the only time I went with someone else. And I don't know what I was going to tell you about this, but on the Hub River trek, we were always very warmly welcomed everywhere. And when in Chitral, yes, I was telling you, in 1987, I think, I walked up to Barogal Pass, and on the way out and on the way back, they wouldn't let me even put up my tent. People just took me home, fed me, and the Chitralis are so generous. मुर्गी तो मारनी है ना, उन्होंने एक आपके पराठे बन के आ जाते थे, ऐसे डिलिशियस पराठे होते थे, मेरे मुंह में पानी आता।
अच्छा, वही सर, मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि हम लोग में जैसे कनेक्शन नहीं, कभी कभी मुझे वो लगता है हम पंजाबी हैं तो हम लोग दूसरे उनके साथ कनेक्ट नहीं करते, और हमें आइडिया नहीं कि बलोच कितने खूबसूरत लोग हैं, पख्तून कितने खूबसूरत, और हमारे से में क्योंकि लाइक यू आर स्केयर्ड ऑफ द थिंग पीपल यू डोंट नो, तो हमारे से बिल्कुल एक डिफरेंट सा इमेज उनका आता है। आई विश कि लोग ज्यादा बलोचिस्तान के बारे में भी लिखें, उसके बारे में भी मूवीज करें।
वो मेरा ख्याल है मेरे अलावा तो किसी ने बलूचिस्तान के ऊपर ट्रैवल पीस लिखा ही कभी नहीं है। वो मेरी किताब जो है सी मॉन्स्टर्स एंड द सन गॉड, उसमें कुछ 2-3 शहरों के ऊपर छोटे छोटे पीसेस हैं बलूचिस्तान के, लेकिन वो बड़ी कमाल की जगह है बलूचिस्तान। एक तो यू नो द माइल्स एंड माइल्स जो है ना, that is unbelievable. It's awe-inspiring, you know, the Balochistan wilderness. तो वो अब हमने बलूचिस्तान को अपनी गलतियों की वजह से नो गो बना लिया है। तो मेरे बलोच दोस्त मुझे कहते हैं कि तुम आ जाओ, तुम्हें हम कुछ नहीं कहेंगे। तो मैं कहता हूँ यार, वो मैं तो आ जाऊंगा, लेकिन वो फिर सिक्योरिटी वाले मुझे पकड़ के ले जाएंगे कि है ये बलोचों को मिल रहा है।
पोटोहार प्लेटो का कैसा था एक्सपीरियंस?
पोटोहार प्लेटो वाज फैंटास्टिक, क्योंकि वहां पे मैं बहुत साल पहले से फौज के जमाने से पैदल घुमा करता था। अच्छा, अब तो हर जगह सड़कें बन गई हैं, उस जमाने में सड़कें नहीं होती थी, कच्चे रास्ते थे। या
आपने फिर वाकई कार्ट राइड नहीं ली? मतलब अगर सड़कें नहीं थी तो कार्ट राइड नहीं कभी ली?
नहीं, पैदल वो जीप सी या वो पिकअप ट्रक आ जाया करता था, उस पर बैठ जाता था, लेकिन ज्यादातर मैं वहां पे पैदल ही फिरा हूँ।
अच्छा, दैट्स सुपर ऑसम।
हाँ,
तो सर आपने माशाल्लाह हाइकिंग भी बहुत ज्यादा की, तो कौन सा टफेस्ट हाइकिंग ट्रैक था?
टफेस्ट
हाँ जी जो आप
शिमशाल।
ओके
शिमशाल, हाँ, ये गुजाल में है। अपर, जैसे हम अपर हुंजा कहते हैं, वो प्रॉपरली तो उसका नाम गुजाल है। उसमें
ओके
कराकोरम हाईवे से ईस्ट की तरफ है, टुवर्ड्स द चाइनीज बॉर्डर, टू द विलेज ऑफ शिमशाल। अब तो खैर उन्होंने जीप वो ट्रैक बना लिया है, लेकिन वो चीटे निकले शिमशाल के लोग, उन्होंने वो सड़क बना ली। तो शिमशाल, शिमशाल से फर्दर ईस्ट उनका एक समर पैस्चर है जिसे शुवर्थ कहते हैं। वो जो शिमशाल से शुवर्थ का ट्रैक है ना, वो मेरा ख्याल है सबसे मुश्किल है।
बिकॉज इट्स स्टीप और व्हाट, और बहुत नैरो है।
वेल, वहां पे स्क्री स्लोप्स हैं, पहाड़ के ऊपर बजरी गिरी हुई है, नीचे समुद्र दरिया तक। आप दरिया से कोई 1000 मीटर ऊपर है, और वो ट्रैक जा रहा है, फिर आपको उतरना पड़ रहा है 500-600 मीटर, और फिर आपको जाके 500-600 मीटर चढ़ना पड़ रहा है, फिर उतरना पड़ रहा है, फिर चढ़ना पड़ रहा है। तो वो जो उतरना चढ़ना है ना, और उस ट्रैक के ऊपर, वो बड़ा जानलेवा है।
अच्छा so I guess we need to plan sometime inshallah. So it was lovely. हाँ
Huh?
जी sir, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think my trekking days are over.
नहीं, क्योंकि मैं बच्चों के साथ प्लान कर रही थी, हम लोग वैसे सोच रहे थे कि हम लोग जब मतलब बच्चों की लॉन्ग समर ब्रेक आएगी तो विल गो बैक पैकिंग समवेयर, तो मैं हमें इंशाल्लाह होपफुली बलूचिस्तान।
I hope so. I hope things are
Fingers
all right
crossed.
there.
Ameen. Ameen.
And the Baloch people are wonderful.
That's awesome, mashallah. Mashallah.
Well,
So it was very lovely talking to you, sir.
okay, Huma, thank you so much.
It was totally my pleasure, and I had such amazing time discussing all your books and knowing more about these hiking tracks.
Okay, you must get my latest book when it comes out for sale.
I'm
Which
definitely
is
going to do that.
it's the title is From London to Vaga.
Okay.
It's a history and culture of the Grand Trunk Road.
Okay, I'll definitely going to do that, sir. Thank you so much. Have a super awesome rest of the day. Assalamu alaikum ji. Assalamu alaikum.
Okay. Thank you. Khuda Hafiz.
I love you, sir.